Alright guys, well I'm back today with a very impressive AR-10 overview from Leviathan Defense. These guys sent this out to the channel for me to take a look at, and they have a few different variations of the Leviathan Defense setups. They actually started in the movie industry, which was pretty cool, and you can see a lot of their firearms featured in movies like Fast and Furious, John Wick, and a ton of others, so it's just a cool way to kind of look at some of the history of their products. Now, since then they offer a few different versions to the public, whether it be a 9mm, 5.56, or in this case a 308 AR-10, and they also have different variations of each of those, and you can find a ton of information about those options on their site, and that info will be on the campsite page. I actually specifically requested the AR-10 because I'm always looking for high quality AR-10s that don't completely break the bank. I would call this a top tier rifle at a mid tier price. We're going to be looking at the specs and features from the front and working our way to the back. But one of the first things you'll notice just by looking at it is the color matching. And that's one cool thing that Leviathan Defense does. They color match their entire rifles, so you don't have to kind of mix and match the rail system or the upper receiver. You get a one solid finish, and it just gives it a very nice look down at the range. But besides that, they are built incredibly well, and we'll get to kind of dig into a closer view of some of those components and interfaces in a minute. The other thing I want to mention is they do actually all come with a Savior Systems coffin case with the rifle itself. So when you get it shipped, you actually get a functional case, and these are incredibly nice, especially when you consider the price and the fact that they are throwing these in with that rifle. It's a usable, functional case that you actually keep, and not one of those cheap plastic ones like me where you have 10 or 20 of them and you start throwing them away. So I actually try to buy cases like that, so it's nice that it comes with it. But let's dig into the specs and features of this rifle, starting from the front and working our way to the back, and kind of dig into its performance down at the range. One of the first things I want to discuss is the fact that it does come with a kind of non-directional flash hider. So when this is removed, you don't have to worry about crush washers putting it back on. So that's a nice touch if you wanted to take that off and put different muzzle devices. It goes onto 5/8 by 24 thread pitch, which is pretty much standard for the AR-10 platform, and this one actually comes with an 18-inch barrel with a 1 in 10 twist, so it's going to be pretty accurate with every single 308 or 7.62 51 ammo you can possibly think of. Moving along to what surrounds that barrel is going to be their rail system, and this is a very interesting M-LOK rail system with the M-LOK slots on the sides and the bottoms, as well as a monolithic pick rail at the top and anti-rotation tabs and a solid lockup. This thing is not going anywhere, and I love the beefy anti-rotation tabs, so you're not going to have the rail shift left to right or kind of rotate on the receiver itself, allowing you, if you wanted to mount different laser aiming diodes or lighting systems, that you knew it wouldn't shift zero while you were taking your shots. And that's key on something like a 308 where the recoil is going to be a little bit more than a 5.56. You want something like this beefy lockup and anti-rotation tabs. I also love the fact that they did do a monolithic pick rail at the top rather than cutting it down, allowing you to put pressure pads at the top for those offset lights, because this could be a pretty interesting setup, especially in some of the 5.56 versions for home defense or personal defense, and having an offset light with a pressure switch is definitely key. One thing I would like to really see is some QD slots on the rail systems, but I can live without those because there are so many QD slots that attach to M-LOK rails, and you can really put them wherever you want, so it's not that big of a deal. But I always like the option of having QD slots built into the rail systems. It's just a little bit more streamlined. Now, the rail interfaces with the upper receiver perfectly. You can see a seamless transition. The lockup is solid like we talked about earlier, and these guys are using a 7075 billet receiver set that mates up perfectly. You can see the fit and finish and the attention to detail is spectacular, and there was almost no play between the upper and lower receivers, making it feel like a very solid option, and it feels nice in your hands. You can see the attention to detail in that billet aluminum and the way they've machined it. You don't see any tooling marks. The fit and finish again is spectacular, and they've coated it incredibly nice. Now, this one doesn't have a forward assist. I've never found that absolutely necessary, but it does have the shell deflector milled into the upper receiver itself. The BCG functions great. It's super smooth. It's got a slick coating on it. It allows it to function perfectly down at the range with no feeding or function issues whatsoever. And it does have an extended charging handle, which is perfect for LPVOs because it allows you to get around the side of the optic and utilize that. And that's included in that upper receiver. So it's a very nice setup when it comes to functionality of that upper receiver, whether it be the BCG or that extended latch charging handle. The controls work very nicely for that mag release, as well as the ambidextrous bolt hold open, and the safety itself is just a standard mil-spec safety. The trigger is a mil-spec trigger, and it does great down at the range. Not the best, not the worst, just a good, solid mil-spec trigger. I also love the fact that this one has an extended trigger guard, allowing it for gloved fingers, and that's the nice thing about a billet set. You can machine a lot of these in, so it just flows a lot nicer, it feels a lot nicer, and all the edges are chamfered and rounded where you're going to be putting your hands, so there's no sharp edges to run into. The one I received comes with the MOE grip, as well as the Magpul stock itself with the locking system and QD slots, and this is where the QD slots are really nice for QD slings. Generally, I run QD point here at the end of the stock, and then one up here close to the front of the receiver. So I will be putting that QD slot in that first M-LOK and running a sling right there. And potentially, since this is a longer range rifle, I may be moving that out, which again utilizes these M-LOK rail systems and does kind of defeat the purpose of a QD slot here on a more precision built rifle. So again, not that big of a deal that it doesn't have one. The magwell itself has a massive flare on the bottom, and that allows you to insert that mag incredibly smooth and with ease. Again, this is a nice touch when you're talking about a billet receiver, because you can make it a little bit wider like this magwell. You don't have to add one for competition use, and generally inserting a mag is great for every single application you can possibly think of, not just for competitions, but for personal defense, hunting, and low light situations. It's just got a lot of nice updated features. Another thing that I want to mention is it's 100% functional down at the range with no issues whatsoever, and I tried a wide variety of .308 ammunition, at least 4 different types. Now, we will be trying more in the future on this rifle, and I'll try to keep you guys updated, but functionally it was great. It ejected the rounds perfectly. This is a more tapered shell deflector, so it's kind of hard to compare the ejection pattern with a traditional AR because it is a different machined profile, but it seemed not overgassed or undergassed, and it ran every single round we put through it with no issues whatsoever. A few other things I want to mention is these guys are 100% made in the USA with USA components. They're made in Detroit by veterans, and they have a lifetime warranty, so these guys are standing behind their products. If you want a premium AR-15 without completely breaking the bank, this is an absolute AR-10. This is an absolutely great option to get a hold of and grab. It looks good, it functions good, it feels good, and this thing is pretty darn accurate. And I wanted to save the accuracy component for the last part of this review. To get a true accuracy and performance test, I would have to try a few different match grade rounds, maybe upgrade to a longer range scope, and swap out the trigger. But with that being said, in this current configuration with the ammo I had, it was a 1 MOA gun. No problems whatsoever getting 1 MOA, and I feel like if I upgraded some of those components and found some different ammo, I could really dial it in. So accuracy, this thing is a tack driver in its current configuration, so I can't wait to see its updates in the future. But I don't know if I'm going to swap out the scopes. This LPVO from Primary Arms is doing perfectly on the top of this. It would be great for different hunting applications where you could put it at the 1 power setting and track something across a field, then zoom it in with the first focal plane reticle system and take your shots at a distance. I really think an LPVO on the top of this 18-inch AR-10 is the perfect pair. I don't think this is going to be one of my long-range guns, but it's going to be one of my mid to long-range guns with potential for close-up, hard-hitting 308 action, whether it be for hunting or just blasting through a truck as you see in the intro. This is a solid option for a lot of different applications, and it's a great shooter down at the range. Again, all of the information will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.